Welcome to Spoiled Rotten Podcast. I'm Arthur Woods. How many of you Georgia fans are tired of watching Kirk Cignetti's, Jim Harbaugh's, and Ryan Day's, and Lane Kiffin's get all the glory while we tend to sort of run in place? Last 3 years, we've not been really a factor in the playoffs. Early exit against Notre Dame and against Ole Miss. Both those games seemed winnable, but we didn't win. And how many games in the last 3 years have we started off the bat, playing good football and winning these games from the get-go? You can't oversimplify, but you have to start winning a football game the moment you kick off. Obviously, if you don't, you can come back. Georgia's biggest problem is that they're not playing complete football games. You can say, well, they're young, they're inexperienced. All true. But that doesn't mean you can't attack a defense and start scoring points before it gets to the third quarter. Now, if your defense doesn't, stand out, you might find yourself behind. Last year, Georgia came from behind, 4 to 5 times? We hardly ever have a significant lead at the half, if we have one at all. 3 to 10 points is about what we get. Yes, there were exceptions. We're not talking about outliers. We're talking about a constant thing that Georgia goes into football games and they don't make an impression till the third quarter, if then. And then we get all excited because of the heroics required. I haven't seen anything from Kirby Smart to indicate that we're going to do anything different. It does look like we'll probably have Gunnar Stockton as quarterback. Obviously, we didn't go to the portal to get one. We didn't go to the portal to get much at all. Kirby Smart made a living off that April opening, and having seen what he had, to that point, went and got the finishing pieces. That's not a possibility now. So Georgia is going to rely on the old stubborn method of recruiting. Thankfully, we're still doing pretty good there. What happens when that drops to 27 instead of 2, 3, or 4, or 1? Go look at Clemson is all I have to tell you. Clemson with Dabo resisted the portal. He sort of doesn't now, but he still does. He still likes to have loyalty and recruit and build players his way. And he went 7-5 last year. Think about how close Georgia came to 7-5 themselves. Very close. Georgia came very close to having a very middle-of-the-road season last year. Tennessee game went our way. That game in itself basically made the season. All those games that we let become tight ball games because we did not do enough in the first half. Okay, so we still got Stockton. He'll probably be the quarterback. Maybe they can get his mechanics straightened out a little, and maybe he can start hitting wide receivers. Let's go take a look at Lane Kiffin and what he's done. 4 top 50 receivers brought in from the portal. 4! A top quarterback. An offensive line, top one in the country, and a top edge rusher. Sounds like Lane Kiffin knows what it takes to win. Now, that right there may not mean anything. That's LSU. I don't think we even play LSU. So off the bat, LSU comes into the coming season as the front runner. Georgia, since Kirby Smart's been here, was in that position. The assumed champion, assumed everybody copies them. They're the leading the way. Well, now it looks like Lane Kiffin should be leading the way in the SEC. Kevin DeBoer looks like he's going to probably do what he always does and hang around. Keep waiting for Florida to make a move, Auburn to make a move. South Carolina, could have a good team anytime. And will Vandy keep up? They've got to replace Pavia. But Vandy's behaving a lot more like Indiana than any other SEC team not coached by Lane Kiffin. So it looks like Georgia may have actually missed their window. The last 3 years, they could have been champions of the entire universe with a couple of small changes. Not big ones, just small ones. What do you mean? Like scoring in the first half. And it's not like you don't know how to score, because in the second half, you pile them on in record numbers. So do it in the first half, too. We got to start doing that. And guess who is most responsible for that problem? Yeah, your boy, your best boy, Mike Bobo, is the problem at Georgia. I've said it for 3 years because I saw him the first time he was here. It's not just Mike Bobo, it's what creeps into the system when he's here. He's a cloud that just drains a team. And that's probably a little too cruel, but it does seem to be what happens. Kirby Smart did make one change. He changed the offensive line coach. Sorrell's is doing something else. He didn't fire him. Kirby doesn't fire assistants. He thinks that's a virtue. I'm not sure that a Fortune 500 company looks at things like that. They look at results, and results are virtuous and not much else. So as Georgia fans, you've got a little time before the season starts, but it looks like we're just settling in. And as fans, we've already acknowledged we can't win it every year. But the sad news is we probably could have, at least since 21 and 22. We could have won it in 23. We could have beaten Alabama that day in the SEC championship game and made the playoffs as an undefeated team. The year that Jim Harbaugh won a title. The next year, we just simply, Notre Dame game is inexplicable. Inexplicable to have lost that game and only been able to manage 10 points. Inexplicable. Last year, Ole Miss was our game to win. We just didn't want it. That's all you can say. And so we let Lane Kiffin take the headlines. Of course, he didn't win a title. Now he's at LSU, and he probably will win the SEC. He should. Got everything he needs. And LSU wasn't poor and broke before he got there. He's added the right pieces. He's an offensive mind. And it does come down to the fact that to win today, you've got to be able to score. You got to have an explosive offense. You got to be able to make big plays and make them often. You have to attack defenses downfield. And you have to have a quarterback who can read defenses and make every position on the defense have the hardest day they had. And with Mike Bobo, that is not the case. How hard is it for a defense to defend the predictable schlock that we get? You ever play video games? Come on. All of you probably played some video games, and I'm not saying it's the same as coaching, but it ain't much different. At least from a scheme standpoint, it's the same thing. There's no way you're going to even beat the computer in a video game doing the same thing with no imagination repeatedly. When it's 3rd and 7, they can see the bubble screen. They can get 7 or 8 players right there where the bubble screen is happening, and oftentimes it's a loss of down on a critical play. But that's our offense, and we do that for a whole half. We get down to the 40, we start forgetting how to play football. It does seem like with Mike Bobo, there is an allergic reaction to touchdowns. It's almost as if he doesn't want to get them. And that is not totally new for Georgia. Georgia's offense and their culture have always been different. They claim they like to run the football and control the clock. And that method, historically, will give you a 60% winning percentage. It's a little low in college football. And that'd be great in baseball. Win 60%, and you're probably in the World Series. College football, you win 60%, you get a bowl. Georgia has got to revamp their offense. We had Monken, and it worked. He's not the only one that could do that. He's just the one we had. And it does look like that when you get down to it, the back-to-back titles were more of a product of Monken than Kirby Smart. And that's the way it is. We had an offense that people were afraid of and a defense. Of course we won titles. We had the best team. It was an unimaginably good football team. And you don't have to have that kind of team every year to win a title. Since nobody can stack teams against you, you can still win titles. If you want to play football a certain way, you can still get the players to do it. So as a Georgia fan, what are your biggest concerns going into 26? For me, it's the offense. I really thought they were going to make a change at coordinator because Mike Bobo's had 3 years, and it's gone downhill every year. They used to say he couldn't win a big game. I guess he won a few big games, regular season games. He did win 2 SEC title games, even though the offense wasn't the reason we won those games. So Georgia has got to come back to the mainstream of football. It's obvious you got to have a passing attack. You got to have a balanced running attack too. And on defense, you've got to put pressure on the opponents or you will just get cleaned up. Have we done that? Well, we're relying on growing those positions. The edge rusher and Glenn Schumann still here. All those things you would expect a legitimate operation to have made some changes on both offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Simply not getting it done. And when you're not getting it done and the organization is trying to win titles, you make changes because there's a standard. And we stopped talking about that. Kind of reminds me of Mark Richt, 2002, finish the drill. For Kirby, it was, we hunt. You don't hear Kirby saying that no more because he is the hunted and not the hunter. You didn't hear Mark Richt say finish the drill because he didn't. And he knew it. They lost games because they couldn't finish drills. Mistakes. Badly coached football team overall in many ways. Kirby Smart is becoming just another Mark Richt. We fired Mark Richt. Don't forget that. But now, how could we even think of changing out Kirby? We can't. He's been contractually locked in to be our coach till he decides he doesn't want to be. He's a coach for life. He's sort of earned that, but now he's showing us that maybe we overreacted to 21 and 22. Because now Kirby Smart isn't doing what we need, and from here on out, it does appear that it's only going to get worse.